Okay, we're talking about corporate minutes. This is a concept that people who are running corporations, including the board of directors or officers, should be cognizant of. The corporate minutes are essentially a record of what happens during board meetings inside of a corporation. They're used for a bunch of things, which we'll talk about in a second, but it's really important to keep a record of what happens for lots of reasons. But that's what the corporate minutes are essentially designed to do. They are a legal document. They are a record of events that happens inside of a board meeting. And you use the corporate minutes sort of to cover your butt and do a bunch of other things in terms of liability. And also just to keep a running total of what happens during those meetings and what's happened historically. So it also helps you comply with laws because in almost every state, or if you form a corporation, there are laws around keeping minutes. You have to keep minutes. You have to have certain meetings during the year, an annual meeting, shareholder meeting, or board meetings periodically, and you have to keep minutes of those meetings. It also provides liability protection because later you can go back and say, hey, look, here's what's happened in this meeting, here's what everybody agreed to, and here's who was in attendance. It's not a transcript, which is important. It wouldn't really be practical. Some companies do, but it's not really practical to keep a transcript of every board meeting. Instead, it's a record of any agreements that were made, and it's sort of an overview, bullet points, if you will, of what agreements were made and who made them. And courts and auditors will use it. They become important documents later when there is disagreement or potential legal action around board meetings. So some of the things that minutes will track is the date and the time of the meeting, the nature of the meeting, who are the attendees, and what actions occurred during the meeting. So let's talk about why you have them and sort of what the good and bad outcomes are. First of all, a good outcome for if you were diligent about keeping corporate minutes and did them correctly, a good outcome would be before the board meeting you send out an agenda, you hold the meeting, any decisions, remember actions, all of this is tracked during the meeting. So who was there, what was said, what did they agree on? And then afterwards you're going to publish those minutes, meaning you're going to make them an official document, and then you're going to have people sign them. This is generally the directors on the board that will sign those minutes to make them official. That's just a way that everybody's on the same page of what was discussed and what was agreed to. So a bad outcome would be you don't take minutes, or you're not diligent about it. And when you don't do that, you experience an increase in liability. All kinds of problems can happen later. It leads sometimes to confusion about who agreed to what, when, and under what circumstances. And also you become legally non-compliant. So it's actually against the law. It's not something that generally gets enforced, but you're supposed to keep minutes according to corporate law. So that's it. Just understand that corporate minutes are essentially a basic record of events that happens during board meetings.